Haven't seen you in a little while, but I'm glad you came back. So we have Dr. Byrd
Yes.
to speak with us tonight about running for coroner. Dr. Byrd, you get to give a little introduction, about 10
I'll
minutes
just
of
give a little
yourself.
background on myself, just
Okay.
in case people don't already know or
Okay.
haven't read anything.
And then we're gonna, as soon as you're done with that, about 10 minutes or so, we'll all start just asking questions
Sure,
and you can freely
sure.
answer. And
Sure.
it's a little more cramped, but it's still
All right.
totally casual. So everybody
Sure,
reach
sure.
for snacks or whatever you might need. There's still iced tea and water and stuff right around the corner in the
Sure.
fridge if anybody needs anything
Water.
like that. I'll pray and we'll get started. We good? Okay. Father, thank you for the breeze that you did bring and for the cooler weather. And thank you that we didn't lose anything in all of that. We appreciate everybody's flexibility and we get that from you. So thank you for making us peaceable in these ways. And we are grateful that you've given us this opportunity. Help us to ask the questions that need asking and give us your discernment with the answers. And we ask that you please be with Dr. Byrd to help him answer those questions as well and give him the words to speak what needs to be made known so that we can all understand better. And we thank you for this opportunity. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, Dr. Byrd, go ahead.
All right.
Is that coming toward you?
It'll be fine, because I might have to move around a little bit.
Sure.
If I get a little tired, I'll just grab a chair. and
Yes,
sit.
go ahead.
And sit,
You can sit now if you
No.
want.
I'll stand for a while. Let me stand for a minute. Okay. So I'm just going to give you kind of a short bio, just kind of, and then I have some flyers if you want to read more information. You can go to the webpage. Yeah. Okay. So I want to thank you very much for having me in this little mini forum so you can ask questions, because this is really important for you as a voter to ask questions about the candidate. Okay. And ask the hard questions. If we can't answer, then we'll try to find out the right answers for you. So, okay. So, I'm Dr. Robert Byrd. Okay. I have a doctorate degree in dental surgery. I've practiced for 37 years in doing institutional medicine. One thing I forgot to mention at the forum, I retired 25 years military service as a full colonel, 2 tours in Iraq. My training, which is probably one of your interests, is I did a lot of my training at the Armed Forces Medical Examiner System. Also, I did training at Dade County in Miami at the medical examiner, Wayne County Medical Examiner System, medical examiner's office in Detroit, Michigan, Los Angeles County Coroner's office. Okay, that's some of my training. I'm post-certified instructor. Yeah, I'm post.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I didn't want to yell because I didn't want to.
Yeah, there we
I'm
go.
post-certified instructor, and what does that mean? Post is the police officer standard training for deputy coroners and coroners and law enforcement. And so I'm a certified instructor. My instructorship's going to expire probably next year because they're not teaching it in person anymore at the Law Enforcement Academy. It's all online now, so I don't know how my hours will probably drop off. But I, as a deputy coroner, my status is I'm a deputy reserve coroner, and in the Trona County. In 2000, I was a deputy coroner here in Sheridan County. Okay, so all my hours are current. And if you read the statute 7.4, if you get elected coroner, you're required to take the coroner basic within 12 months. If you don't, then you get fined daily by the commissioners. Okay. Do I need to take that? No, I am current. I've taken it not once, but twice. And I don't mind taking it 3 times, doing it online, because one thing about forensic science, they always look for something, if they're introducing something new out there. Okay. Let's see, got all my hours. I'm also retired from the American Academy of Forensic Science. I don't know if you're familiar with the American Academy of Forensic Science. It is the forensic organization in the world. So all your world scientists, pathologists, anthropologists, document examiners, they have to do with forensics, bio, lab, pathologists. They have a meeting once a year. It's an annual meeting, and you can present papers there, or abstracts. Submit an abstract and present. I presented 4 already within my career. The bar is set high there. Those are your colleagues around the world. So the grade card is, you know, when you finish presenting a paper, you either get A's, B's, or C's. Like I said, I had all my hours. I am a member, associate member, let me correct that. I'm an associate member of the Wyoming Coroners Association. And why am I not a full member? Because with the new bylaws that they just wrote, you have to be an elected coroner to be a full member. That's a voting member. So let's turn the clock back before they made new bylaws. I was a full member. Remember I said I was a deputy coroner for Sheridan County. I represented PJ. All those meetings that he didn't go, I was there representing Sheridan County. Okay? And then they talked me into being the president for a while of the Wyoming Coroners Association. And I said, that's fine. That's what I gotta do. You know, you have a secretary. Okay. I'm also a member of SOMDI. That's a Society of Medical Death Investigators. I've only been in that for about 6 months because I'm trying to get a board certification on that side of the fence. Okay. I'm also a consultant or a case reviewer. If I'm doing a case on NAMUS, that's the National Association of Missing Unidentified Folks. Some of my community services. I'm on the board of the Volunteers of America, Northern Rockies here. I'm part of the Republican Sheridan County process because I'm your 12-1. If you're in 12-1, my precinct, I'm your committee now. I've been this year for 12-1, I was the caucus chair for the county convention. I was a delegate. For the state convention, I was a delegate. And I was on the platform committee. So all the wordsmithing that with the new, which will be 2022 platforms, that's what we did at state convention. And that was part of that process. Other than that, that's kind of a nutshell, kind of what I can do. I can go into a more lengthy file, but I think that's enough where you can get just a gist of where I am. Because you get a chance of the forensic side. And like I said, I've been doing forensics for 20 years. You know, because I retired from the academy, you have to at least be vested in 20 years before they retire. But I'm still a voting member. I can still vote. And I can present. And it doesn't cost me anything now to go to the meetings. So I earned my dues. I'm a fellow. So, and I can still present. And I have some papers or thoughts that I would like to present, but, you know, probably, maybe later on. It will be nice if I got elected as coroner, representing Wyoming as a coroner. We don't have a lot of representation there at the academy at that level. Okay. In my section of odontology, there was only 2 of us. And I don't know if you knew Dr. Wiley on the other side, but he's passed away about 5 years ago. That we presented together for the first time. So history, 2 cowboys presenting on the national stage. So, anyway, that's kind of a nutshell what I am. So I'll leave the forum up to you guys, and you can ask the questions.
So can you perform an autopsy?
No, by statute I can't. Yeah, The statute says you have to be a board certified forensic pathologist. Okay.
Okay, so that's, you have to go to college, so you were a dentist, so your medical stuff doesn't overlap.
It does, but you have to follow the statute. You know, when I told you I presented a paper, and it was called surgical technique, and dental autopsy. What is the dental autopsy versus a regular autopsy? See, so, I mean, I've been on, in order to present, you have to have data. In order to present abstracts, you have to go to a lot of autopsies. So, I've been on a lot of autopsies.
Okay,
But the thing is I can't go in there as your coroner and do an autopsy.
okay.
I have to get a forensic pathologist to come in and do that,
Okay.
if it requires an autopsy.
So if you're elected coroner, would you use your opponent, who is a forensic person, and if you would or wouldn't use him as to perform an autopsy for you, why or why not?
That is a excellent question. Let me break it down in 2 parts. I've known my opponent, I can use his name, I can say it, before, I will say about 20 years, at least, or heard of his name. Remember I said I was a member of the academy. So when you ask about pathologists out west and you drop a name, you get some feedback, okay? So, let me go to part 2 question, your question. We only have 2 pathologists in the whole state. Okay, 2 forensic pathologists. Okay. Tom's one, and Dr. Frost is the other over in Fremont County. He was retired, but Aaron Ivy's pulling him out of retirement. So, but he's gonna probably strictly do autopsies for Fremont County. Okay, and Fremont County's big, and they're busy. Would he do autopsies for us? Yes, if it could fit into their schedule, okay? So, you see the dilemma that Wyoming's faced with? 2 pathologists, 23 counties, you know, so where do we go? Well, historically, all the coroners had to send their cases outside the state. Those in the southern state went to Colorado. Those on the east end went to Utah. Those on the the west end go to Utah. On the east end, we're going over to South Dakota, okay? And so the ones that in the north here, where do we go? Usually Billings, okay? If they had room for us, okay? And if they did, you just kind of, you have to buy time. And when you have to buy time like that, your evidence starts to fall apart. So this has been, this didn't happen yesterday. This has been a long-term process with Wyoming, and it's kind of like I'm one of 2 forensic odontologists in the state. That's, you see, you know, that's when you start comparing. That can actually do cases that they will call you. When I say actually do cases is when I write a report and I go to court, because I always write, when I write a report, I expect it to go to court. If it doesn't, that's fine, okay? Because when it goes to court, the other guy on the defense side is gonna try to get me out of there. He's gonna grill me just like you're gonna grill me here, asking me this. So, now let me get to your 3rd part, which is probably the most important part. I don't know yet, because we're running against each other. We're not smearing each other, I don't think. I mean, somebody would have to tell me if we're smearing each other. I don't think we are. We're just running our campaigns and seeing who's the better one that the voter would like. I have more roots here in Wyoming than him, so I'll give you that much bragging rights. I'm 5th generation out of Wyoming, so I had grandparents came across here when it was a territory. So, you know, he doesn't have roots here. Okay. He's got a history, and I hate to. That's why I want to. That last question you asked me, would I use him as? He's got a history. Okay. And I knew the history before everybody in this room will find out about his history, okay? So, what it comes down to, like if we're in private practice, and it's a practice for the county, we're practicing for you, the voters, is, are we a liability risk? Okay, that's what it comes down to. And you say, if you're doing a case, and it goes to court, and you give it to Diane, can she prosecute the case? Well, the defense is gonna do their homework like you're doing your homework, and they're gonna look into that. And it could be damaging to the case. I just have to put it out that way. I would love to use him, and maybe I might have to use him, because I don't have a choice. But I have two choices, use Tom Bennett or use Bill. Okay. But I'll tell you, in certain cases, I will not credential him on those, period, based on some of the history. Okay. Yeah. But, you know, he's a good pathologist. At least I've worked with him. When I was a deputy coroner, we worked cases together, and we worked fine together. So our goal is, if we're working together, we should be working for you guys, totally, you know, and we shouldn't be adversary. I'm the coroner, he's the pathologist, okay? Not every case needs autopsy, okay? Who makes that determination? Me, but I would consult with him, you know. If it's a case, I'm gonna back off that just a little bit, because I get into.
No, you've answered it, because you wouldn't totally not use him.
No,
You'd be a case
I'll
by
leave
case.
it open, and I'll tell you, the reason is because the commissioners are building this new office, okay? They're not really building for Dr. Byrd. It's all centered around him, you know, for autopsies. But, you know, because PJ's the current coroner, so I'll try to speed this up a little bit.
Oh, no, you're fine.
And so, I'm trying, I guess that you kind of caught between, I guess, after the election, primer, probably have to sit down with the commissioners, see what their thoughts are, and we'll just sit down and talk about it, you know. But I will have to say, if a case, and this is what you have to understand, is a coroner goes out on calls, and his calls can be a death investigation or a crime scene investigation. Of course, there's victims in both. A death investigation could be an unattended individual in their 80s. Family comes over, they passed away. Okay. Do I need to do an autopsy on that? No, why? I have a physician that's been treating the patient for, probably 5-10 years. And I can call him and he can give me a whole health history. He said, the life expectancy, we didn't know that she was going to hang on this long. So that's where medicine is, you know, that we can extend life, you know, with the medicines and the treatment today. So, but you go to a crime scene, that's a little different. And you say, how's your crime scene? Well, you can have a motor vehicle accident, okay, driver and passenger die. Or passenger dies, driver survives. Okay. So law enforcement is going to be there before this. So pretty much they should lay the pattern out for us. But our jurisdiction is really the body. But we're CSI folks. We got to do the scene investigation, just in case they miss something. Because when we get on the stand, they're going to ask us the tough questions. Law enforcement's not going to be able to say, oh, you should have, here's the answers. No, we got to answer the same questions. So we should cross paths. Same way with EMT, everything. So that's a different process. That's where basically we're all really good at it. Is going out there and like deputy dog out there. I can work a crime scene, you know. And Because I've been taught by the best people. They were hard, but they grew me just right. That when I get planted in Wyoming, which we're a rural state, you have to make those decisions, and I've had to make those decisions. Even as a deputy coroner, and so yeah, that's still open, and that's a very good question. I hope I would have liked them to ask that at the chamber. That would have been a great question to ask us, but they didn't. So, yes, ma'am.
Dr. Bennett stated when he was here, or when he was doing his forum, that he would be the coroner and you would also do the autopsy. From your perspective, do you see any issue with a coroner also performing the autopsies?
Yes, you
And
do.
what is that issue?
Okay. Well, okay. Let's go back to where it's in the funeral home right now. So you already see a conflict there. Funeral home, coroner's office, autopsies being done there. One side wants the business. Okay, you see that you have to look at the business model, not the forensic model. But then if you focus in on the forensic model, okay, he's going to do the autopsy. Okay, fine. PJ pays him, or the county pays him. Okay, and that's probably what you're seeing now, that process. I'm only speculating because I don't know, because I'm not part of them. So I'm just speculating. They're trying to eliminate the conflict of interest. The only thing is they're bringing the same process over to the new coroner's office. Okay, if you see because PJ's the coroner, so you take the Kane funeral staff and all that, and Tom Bennett, they're going to move over to the new building, or maybe not, depending on who's the coroner. Okay. Now, let's just say he's the coroner. The commissioners have already set the salary for the coroner already. It's $30,000. It's a part-time job. They define it. Okay. Because I've been sitting in on those meetings. You have to sit on them to find out what the commissioners are doing and thinking. Okay. So, this is a hypothesis. This won't be fact. I'm the coroner. I'm the forensic pathologist. So who tells me not to do autopsies on the 85-year-old? Who tells me when I should not do autopsies? Because not every case has to have an autopsy. So who's going to do the Q&A of looking over and say, you get 20 autopsies this month, how many of those did you really have to do? Okay, that's the question. If you read the literature, some schools say we don't do enough autopsies, but then you listen to some of the pathologists say you don't have to do autopsies on anything. You can do an examination. Autopsies is that final phase of data collection to answer those questions that you can't see externally. So you have to go internally. And you don't have to do a full autopsy. There's partial autopsies, but it's a concern. It would be a concern. Now, if I was the coroner and he's my pathologist, he has to, I wouldn't say sell it to me. I should be the one asking him, we need to do an autopsy. Okay. Or he might say, I think we need to do an autopsy, and if I disagree, then it won't happen, because I'm the coroner. Okay. And that might be a little bumping heads there in the department, but that's what the coroner has to make tough decisions, just like the sheriff has to make tough decisions in his department. Okay. And Diane has to make tough decisions in her department. So the coroner, that's the tough decisions. Because we're in a coroner system. Okay, does everybody understand the coroner? Did he explain what the coroner system is? Okay.
Explain what coroners do, yeah.
Okay. Did he explain what the medical examiner system is?
No.
Did he explain how many medical legal death systems we have in this country?
We said there were 300 forensic pathologists,
No,
but
no,
I guess
no,
some
no,
different.
I'm not worried,
Yeah.
numbers on it, we're talking systems, we're talking, so let me just get you up to speed a little bit, so you can, there's three. There's the Armed Force Medical Examiner System, okay? That functions under Congress, or Congress gives that mission statement for DOD, State Department folks, government officials working outside the country, citizens that travel on vacations, get injured or killed in another country. Armed Forces Medical Examiner will work with the State Department if they have problems getting the remains back to this country. Okay, they'll go state to state, State Department, and then Armed Force Institute, the medical examiner. Okay. Then there's the medical examiner system, which they would love to have everybody in this country all in the same medical examiner system. Okay. Medical examiner systems is huge. Okay. Your pathologist is not one, maybe two, depending on the size, maybe three. They're all board certified forensic pathologists. They're hired, not elected. They're hired by the chief medical examiner. Okay. That's it. And they work under that system. New Mexico is a medical examiner system. Montana is a medical examiner system. They have like 3 or 4 pathologists up there, but they have different sites because Montana's kind of spread out. Then why don't we spread out? It'd be nice if we had enough pathologists, but we only have, what did I say, 2. So, yeah, that's the dilemma that we're experiencing. You know,
So in the medical examiner system, is that a higher position, the medical examiner?
no, because if you're board certified, if you're a board certified forensic pathologist, you're board certified. It doesn't matter what system you're working in. You know, it's when you go to court, let the lawyers let them sort that whether you know you have the right credentials. It's the same for me as when I go to court. Is let them sort it all out. You present who you are. They have your resumes and stuff. And they'll grill you, and they'll try to get, if they find out that you're really a good expert, they want you off that stand because you might hurt their defense. They might want to get you off there so that they'll do a gotcha question. So, yeah.
So if you're at court and you're working for Diane?
It is. It's
Okay.
that's Diane's lane.
Okay, so
And-
you're working for her and not for the defense? So
No,
are-
no, that would be brutal. That would be, especially being an elected official, working for the defense in a case in the county. You know, you guys would throw rocks at me.
Okay, so you'll always be on the person,
We're on the prosecuting side. So when it comes to cases, we build them from the field to the morgue or to the coroner's office. Law enforcement goes from the field to their office. We present what we have to Diane. If they have a suspect or a person in question to prosecute, she reviews everything to see if we have enough, we gave her the right evidence and she has good, strong evidence to convict somebody.
So then, it would be in your opinion, it would be a conflict of interest if the coroner, we'll just say if Tom got elected, because he considers himself independent. So if he's the coroner here for Sheridan, he still thinks he could go to Florida, wherever, and he can work for the defense, or he can work for the prosecution. Does that create a conflict?
I don't know if that's pretty, it's a gray area, it's a conflict, but that's like abandoning your job. You know, you're elected to take care of Sheridan County. That's why you vote us in here.
But you said it was part-time.
Well, the commissioners call it part-time. It's just, it's kind of like when I was in the military, yeah, it's a part-time job. And I said, well, wow, it's 24/7. And I'm doing all these things, and I was a state surgeon, and I was saying, it's a nice part-time job. What's the full-time job? You know, yeah, that's an excellent choice because I'll give you an example. I get consulted to to go on cases, and some of them are child abuse cases. And the detectives, they bypass everybody and come directly to me. They call me up and ask me to look at some stuff, and I look at it. And then, yeah, I might have to go to court on that. Okay. If I was cornered, could I do that? I might have to recuse myself on that. For the simple reason is, I work for Sheridan County, and I'm not an independent agent. So all my independent consulting, when they call me, I might have to say no. As much as I don't, as much as there's a need for our expertise in Wyoming, might have to say no. I've tried for the last 10 years to find dentists to train, so I could step aside and let them be the lead on this. Young ones, hungry ones, they're just not out there. Not right now, I just can't find it. Same thing with pathologists. We could get some pathologists in here if we pay them. We got to set a salary. So what we have to do is talk to our legislatures and say, let's try to get a base or something where we can attract some pathologists to come with her. Sure, pay them an extra $100,000 state. Sure, we can keep them busy. But yeah, I think, because I've been thinking about this, and because right now I'm running as a candidate, but I'm waiting for a coroner's office to call me because they want me to do an ID. And so they're getting the anti-motor records. So when I get it, yeah, I can do that. Now, if I was your coroner, the question is, should I? And a good person to ask would be Diane, and say, what do you think? Do you see a big conflict? If I feel if I'm banding the county, I will not do it. Now, if I have some good deputies, and I'm hoping, crossing my fingers, I don't have deputies to introduce you, but a good chief deputy and a couple of deputies, yeah, in my absence, because I can't be there 24/7. I'm going to try to be there 24/7. I want to go out on those scenes at 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, morning, or whatever, because I'm going to let the deputy kind of take the reign. I want to see if they can do. I already know how to do it. I want to see if they can do it, and if I think they can do what I expect, because I have, maybe my bar is pretty high, but that's the way it is when these things go to court. Is when you do that field investigation, it's got to be run. You get one shot. That means your camera's got to be working. Take as many pictures as you think, and you say, well, I've taken a lot. Maybe you should take some more just to be sure. Don't depend on law enforcement to get you the pictures. We're working the same scene together. So, okay.
I have a stupid question.
No, this doesn't.
Okay, let's say my aunt is 85 years old.
Yes.
And she, her husband passed away. She's in pretty good health, but she doesn't like to live alone, so she goes to the nursing home.
Sure.
She's in the nursing home for 30 days.
Sure.
And she dies.
Okay.
Now she's 85 years old, so
Sure.
are you going to say, well, she's
Okay.
old, she's dead. And here's Nurse Nancy, she's been over there killing people.
Okay.
And nobody's been investigating
Sure.
because, they're old.
See, that's a red flag already, that she's been admitted to a nursing home in fairly good health. She's under a care of a physician, being managed. She goes into a nursing home, and it's a sudden, unexpected death. That is a coroner's call, and they better call us.
Well, I just didn't want, I didn't know if you'd go, oh yeah, well, she's old,
No.
I can see she died.
No.
You're outside the death certificate,
What I plan is to make contact with all nursing homes, VAs, even hospice. They don't have to. And I would like them just on a daily basis to call the office and say, these are how many people passed away. We'll just, And, but unexpected ones, yeah, somebody better. But you know how we get involved is the family says, wait a minute, she's only been here 30 days. The physician says, yeah, She's only been here 30 days. So instead of the nursing home releasing those remains to the to the funeral home, it should be released to the coroner. And it goes directly to the coroner. And so I would get together with the physician and we would talk about this and then do the autopsy. Because like you said, Nurse Nellie might be in there, smothering people and stuff like that.
So can the family call the coroner?
Sure. I mean, the line's open. I mean, we should, say, we're not happy with this. We can say, hey, maybe we need to do an investigation. That's why you elect us. They don't say we're peace officers, but we really are peace officers. We're elected peace officers, And so we follow what the statute is. A death unintended, unexpected. That's a trigger right there. And if they don't call us, we call Diane and say, there was a death in that nursing home. They did not call us. Do you want to make the call or do you want us to be the strong arm? Because all we do is get this. If they say no, we'll get the sheriff and we'll serve a warrant. Let's put it this way, wherever the remains go, we can take over the jurisdiction. But in the nursing home, the family still has the jurisdiction. So the family would have to release the jurisdiction to us. Once they do that, then we can answer those questions. Yes, sir.
Some people are very critical of your experience, claiming that you may not have what it takes to be a coroner. I think that you addressed a lot of that point in your introduction. I was wondering if you could take a point to just specifically address the statement that Dr. Byrd is a dentist.
Well, see, that's stereotyping, the profession. What's a dentist? Yeah, and it's like a courtroom question. What's a dentist? How would you define a dentist? You're the attorney. Yeah. So, I have a doctor of dental surgery. Okay, what does that mean? I can do head and neck surgery, as much as I want, as long as it's within the scope of my experience practice, So I get a lot of institutional care. So when I applied for credentials, I had to stay within that scope of practice, even working at the prison. So when they say, well, Dr. Byrd's a dentist, huh? Well, that's stereotype, but he doesn't say that I've had over 25, almost 30 years of forensic science experience. Okay, so my opponent doesn't really know me, what I've done, but I've known what he's done because you should ask, here's a hard question you should ask him. How come he's not a member of the American Academy of Forensic Science? And how come he's not in the NAME, National Association of Medical Examiners? How come he's not a member? When I get elected coroner, I'm gonna join. Because I have to, I can't join as a deputy coroner. They might let me in because I'm a deputy, but because I've been in the academy a long time. But, if I was a coroner, I have clout because it's in that section, it's pathology, they call it path bio, and what you have is pathologists and coroners. So, yes, ma'am.
You were talking about hiring deputies and
Sure.
all of those things. Since there are some currently in doing that role now, would you use them? Obviously you'd have to interview whoever and figure that all out,
Yeah.
but do you have even people in mind should you get elected?
No, it's,
How you find them?
I hope they come out. I've talked to a couple of people. One's leaving. One is working for another funeral home. So I have to be careful about bringing somebody that works for a funeral home.
Right.
Now, your question is, would I take the current deputies? And I'm gonna tell you, just, this is gonna be, well, let me back up. That's the fast response. I will look at their credentials, because I do wanna see their past credentials. Are they credentialed where they're at? Okay, so we're in 2022, so they should have new hours coming up. They have a whole year to get 20 hours as required by the statute. Okay. I'll give you this, my personal view. I think the deputy coroners in the present, I'm not happy with it. Okay. Because number one is deputy coroner shouldn't be on the front page of the newspaper. Okay. The coroner should be there. He's the boss. So when there's a death, a deputy coroner shouldn't be making the call what the cause of death is in the newspaper. The coroner is. Okay, the buck stops with the coroner. Okay. So the real fact is I have to question the deputy coroners, you know, and how much experience do they really have? Because if I take them out there, you know, just us, when I see them, I say, bring your equipment, show me what you have. And if I see sticks and stones, then I know it's gonna be a stick and stone investigation, you know, so.
So if it happened that there weren't people here currently or not enough, how do you go about finding others?
I think that it'll open up. I'm hoping it will be. The people that I'm interested in, I really have to look at the conflict. Like I said, the person works for the funeral home. So you have to, and I've already talked to them. I said, can you separate the two? You know, can you be a deputy coroner and stay deputy coroner and not think about funeral? There's a family that come up and ask, well, aren't you part of so-and-so's funeral home? That's my job. So you better talk to the coroner. You know, and they're gonna ask me, and I say, no, that is your position. You tell me which funeral home you would like your loved one sent to. You say, well, which one would you? No, I'm not recommending it. That's showing favoritism. That's not. We're not in that business. I am the family's advocate all the way through this, but I'm not going to try to solicit a funeral home, you know, as a coroner. And you know, historically, you turn the clock all the way back. It's been that way. That's why the funeral homes guys run for coroner. Ferries ran for being coroner. PJ ran for coroner. And they just split back and forth. Okay. So, Dr. Byrd has no interest in the funeral. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Perfect.
Just to continue with my previous question, I think you mentioned several things in your introduction that I hadn't heard before. Something about a deputy coroner and other experience that you had that seemed to me that was separate from being a dentist.
Yes. I mean, like I said, I was 2000. And, you know, I don't carry my little cards with me, but between 2000 and 2005, I was deputized in 3 counties. But I worked for PJ. I was, you know, I did call for him. I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning and did some calls. And both of us deputized would do the call. Okay. Now, since we're both deputies, one has to be the lead coroner. So in some couple of cases, I was the lead coroner. Okay. So, Fremont County, I was kind of more like a consultant deputy. Natrona, my card says deputy on it, and now they have me as in my status as deputy reserve. Here's the thing. 23 counties, 23 coroners. They have death investigations, crime scene investigations. They can call me anytime they want. you know, but they don't. Some do and some don't. They tend to want to do it themselves, okay? And, see, and when I say they want to do it themselves, it gets me into this negative thing, but I'm gonna throw a fact out there. Dr. Bennett likes to try to do it all himself. He likes to do the anthropology, he likes to do the forensic pathology. That's his expertise. And he likes to do the old ontology. You can't, you gotta stay in your lane. You have to. In today's world, you need to be staying there. Because I'll tell you on a national scale, those forensic anthropologists know all the anthropologists. And when they see somebody stepping off out of the lane, they're not happy. Okay. It would be like me doing an autopsy. I guarantee you, every forensic pathologist would be like raising their hand, what the heck are you doing? So when I do the dental autopsy, I ask permission. I said, who's the coroner, or who's the medical examiner? Okay. And I said, and they said, what do you want to do? Well, I need to get access to the jaws. You know, because they're in rigor. And rigor's when you can't move, muscles, you know, the arm can't move, the jaws can't open. So what do? Do you take a scalpel and cut right through here and you think a family would be happy? Would you be happy to see your loved one like that? No. Now historically, turn the clock back 15 years, they did stuff like that. And they still they do that. But see, the technique I lectured on or presented is you don't do that. You go in from the top, you do the craniectomy. It's part of the autopsy procedure. It's a head and neck procedure. Now, can I do it? Yeah, I can do it if somebody gives me permission. I just don't jump in here and do that. You know, and it's a real simple, because once you release it, what you're doing is you break the rigor. Now, this is not dentistry, and this is not a dentist doing this. Dentists don't know how to do this. Okay, so people that coming out of dental school, some of them get like this much forensic dentistry training. I didn't get none. The school I went to, no, actually, yeah, none. But when I was in the military, a plane went down, and they needed some people to ID because Air Force, you know, they have their high standards. They want the answer yesterday. So I said, yeah, I'll help. They said, no, you can't. That was really kind of a low. Why? Because I didn't have that certificate in forensic dentistry training, just the credentials. So what do you think I did after that? Yes, sir. Threw it in low, went Mach 4, went back to the Armed Force exam, the medical examiner system. Took every forensic class they could, even the forensic pathology class. Went to Quantico, trained at the FBI. So, is that a dental thing? There is FBI agents that are dentists. So unfortunately, we get stereotyped. And they say, well, you're just a driller and a film. Okay. You know, tell that to the soldier that over in Iraq when I was taking shrapnel out of his foot, or suturing a guy's hand that was split open. Of course, I did the drill and fill there for a few. But it was all hands on deck when we had casualties coming in. It's, you know, it's not a matter of, you know, and the technicians, some of those guys, they were really green. So they didn't know how to play up, you know, holes with shrapnel. You know, I had a general surgeon that couldn't even pronounce the guy dead. She just like, this is a look at it. I said, make the call. She just kept, I said, Major, will you just make the call? Because he was gone. You know, he was asystole. I said, that's a dental talk, right? That's a dentist talking. So when you, I guess, yeah, he has me in a category. If you say I'm a dentist, then I should have my office set up downtown, and I should be charging you $400,000 for implants and all that. No, you know, I'm crawling in the weeds. You know, I'm like deputy dog, and that's forensic dentistry is a specialty. Okay, so if you say just a dentist, that's fine. You know, it would have been nice to go back to pathology school, but I'm at those. I was just glad to get out of school and really go back to work. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, dealing with dead bodies, the family, and everything, where do you get your strength, and how do you give, like, the families hope? Where does that come from?
I've learned, and maybe this is from well, this is in my training too. I did Patriot detail. I did one detail when I was over in Iraq. Then they asked me to be the OIC. Now, Patriot detail, you know what those are. Okay. This is a 24-hour clock too. We have soldiers going out on night missions, day missions, and so sometimes they get hit and they die, and they're brought to mortuary affairs, local mortuary affairs. I got appointed to be the OIC, so they called me and the chaplain. We talk and we form a detail. And if there's a tailwind, a plane on the flight line, they have no clue that this is going to happen. We walk up there, and the chaplain and myself, and say, prepare for a Patriot detail. So what you see at Dover when they're coming out, it starts way out the field. Then we assemble who's ever available. It's not on duty or can break away from duty. We form a detail. And mortuary affairs brings the casket or transfers case draped in the flag, and then we hand off. We march up on the airplane, give them a Patriot salute, and then the chaplain says a few words, and he tells us who the person is. How do I disassociate my feelings on that? Sometimes I look at myself being kind of numb, but my whole interest is closure for the family. I'm the advocate for the family, all the way until they can get the right answers. Has to be that way. It just has to be that way. A lot of times we don't get that information, and a lot of times family want to know, and sometimes they have to wait a little bit till we get that information. I want to sit down, just like the duty officer sits on the Patriot detail with the family, and talks to them about their loved one, and gives them their personal effects. Yeah. It's man, I tell you, it's really hard to describe the feelings. Little kids really bother me. I tell you, I've been across the country, and when you see little kids, and you just think, why? Why did this happen? How did this happen? That hurts. If there's a bad guy on the other end of this thing, I want him. I want him locked up. Yeah. They have suspect. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any kind of religious belief or practice or faith that you believe?
I was raised in the Catholic Church. Among the monarchs, the sisters, and the monsignors. Very tough time when yeah. But my faith is, I'm open to all faiths. And I'm trying to reach out more so I can have more feeling. And so it might hit me all at once. I don't know yet. But yeah, I'm still reaching. Still, you know, even though I was raised in the Catholic Church, and you know, that doesn't mean that I agree with all their beliefs. Because there was the old school, and I was raised under the old school. Now they have the new minds. It gets a little confusing.
You're recovering like
Yeah.
some of us.
Yeah, it's, and it's kind of like, well, you eat meat on Friday, it's a sin. So, well, I don't go to hell. So, yeah. Is that a God-made law, or is that a church-made law? Well, when she studied the history of the bishops a long time ago, they had big fish market businesses, so you put the two together and say, oh, so this is how you guys, so it's a business again. So yes, I'm still reaching, always trying to get my faith stronger. And hopefully before the man upstairs decides to call me. Yeah. I'm hoping that I get there. And if not, I hope I get a chance to have a conversation with you and say, why wouldn't I have strong? And I guess when you get around, you have to take I guess I take my emotions and pull them aside when I'm doing corner cases. So.
Everybody, it is 8:05, and I know we had a delay with Bennett leaving and wind and transfer. So if anybody wants to ask a last question or two, and then the other group's done meeting, we can move into the hallway and fresher, cooler air
Sure.
as soon as, and drinks and whatever. But does anybody have a question or two before we do that? Any
Yeah.
more? No?
Hmm?
What?
Question.
Which one?
The
Yes.
Republican question.
Oh, well, I mean, I can ask it.
Sure.
I have a feeling I know what to
Sure.
say, but
Yep.
I did ask this of Dr. Bennett. Affiliated with the Republican Party.
I know.
I'm curious if you have ever read the Republican Party platform, and if you have, like, where are you on a scale of 0 to 10 as far as an agreement with it or aligned with it, however you want to word that.
Well, like I said, I have to confess, we just built the platform for 2023.
It's true.
So, when all us delegates that are sitting on the platform committee, now, myself and Representative Jennings, we were the two for Sheridan County. Okay, but I was the lead. So I got a chance. We had our subcommittee locally. We went through the platforms of the planks. We made some changes, and they call them amendments. You present your amendments at there, and either they accept it or you can withdraw it. It's just depending. It becomes a debate. But I think our wordsmithing on this, we came out with pretty much, if you look at the 2022 ones, the platform, we didn't make a lot of changes. There were just a few little bit of wordsmithing here and there. I found them on the military one, because they kept wanting to change it. And I told them, I said, guys, let's not go down that road, please. And I was speaking to everybody that wore the uniform. I said, we honor our fallen heroes. We take care of our soldiers. Okay. So yes, I was part of that process. And our state chair will sign off on that. But it went to the full body, because we were just a committee, and we presented that to the full body, all 23 counties and all their delegates. And so we got upvotes on it. It wasn't a big debate on it. So hopefully you agree with those platforms. The resolutions are a whole different they're a little different, because there's like 140 of those things. It became, and it takes them 2 days. It could be 3 days, but it went to the floor too. They moved that along pretty good. It took about 2.5 hours to do that. And then the bylaws, they made some adjustments with the bylaws. And those were presented to the floor too, and they were accepted. So everything at state convention that was here was all accepted by the 23 counties. So I just represented Sheridan County. And we had some, we thought we had some pretty good amendments to some of the platforms, but we didn't get an upvote on them. So, and then there was one that we had in there, and I just said, we'll pull it out. We don't need it. Because you can kind of see where the tone was. And the tone wasn't going that way, in that direction of a positive.
So it's probably safe to say that you're definitely for sure Republican.
Oh.
It's not a willy-nilly, oh, let's see which
No.
one I could possibly
No,
win in.
no, man, I'm all branded on this one. I'm all in.
That's why I wanted her to ask
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Well, because one of my frustrations lately has been with this party system that we have, and we've talked a lot about this. You have these candidates, or anybody really, just saying they're Republican
Okay.
because the majority of Wyoming is.
Because a Democrat can't get elected.
Right, so I'm always curious where people actually stand, because I'm like, I am a Republican because I agree with the majority of what the platform, the bylaws, and all of that says. And in an ideal world, you wouldn't register as a Republican or a Democrat unless you did read through those and did agree with most of them. You're not going to agree 100% on them, I'm sure, but anyway, that's been a frustrating
We
thing.
have the same concerns, because like I told you, I'm branded. I was all in. And I didn't say, I was also an alternate for the national convention, but it was during the peak of COVID, and Florida numbers were going just like that. So since I was just an alternate, I asked to bow out, but I was an alternate to go to the national convention. But that's my biggest concern when it comes to elections. Everybody puts an R behind their name. So my question to them was, where were you 6 months ago? Where were you last year? I didn't see you at any of the central committee meetings. Okay, where were you at the caucus? Where were you at county convention? I mean,
Who are you financially supporting
yeah.
on a higher level?
Yeah. So, I totally agree. Those people that all are running on the Republican ticket, where were you? Now they're flocking their signs down at the headquarters. Everybody wants their sign to be in there. Everybody wants to be on the table. Did you pay your dues? When I say pay your dues, is where's your commitment? You're either all in on this thing, and that was my commitment. I was all in, and I've been that way. And as a precinct committee man, I said, well, what's my job? Well, I'm a grassroots person. All the people in my precinct, I try to keep them informed of what's going on, or what's coming out of the central committee meeting. I try to represent 12-1 the best way I can. I sit in the exec. I'm not a voting person, but I sit and I can make a comment, and ask questions. We've done the Patriot detail. I mean, the Patriot chat.
Yeah,
Okay.
those are helpful.
Yeah. I graciously used the powder horn facilities so we could have those, Patriot chat, which have been very successful. So successful that the state says, we like what you guys are doing up here. So when you look at what Sheridan County Republican Party has done here, is the state really likes what we're kind of like that beacon light. They want to know more of what we're doing. How are we doing this right? It's all about leadership and teamwork, And it's not like election time, put on your Republican hat.
Right.
After this election, you're a Republican, stay a Republican. Follow the process. There's other things that needs to be done. Especially with your state legislators. If you're not happy with what they're doing, then you talk to us. We channel it to our local representatives here, Jennings, Beitman, and Cyrus, and Kenner, because they're still current until January.
Hopefully.
So that's
I
the,
called a complaint to some of those people.
well, see, that's the thing. Well, and if they're not answering, you come to the party. Then we try to, and again, there's you're not crossing any lines. Just let us know.
So we kind of asked this to the sheriff's candidates, but what is your stance on the Constitution? Do you believe it's black and white? Do you believe that some areas are black and white, some are left for interpretation?
I look at the Constitution, and I have to go back to when these guys actually put this thing together. They put it together for a reason, and for us to try to go in there and change things and make things not the Constitution. I mean, they were colonies at that time, but they, if there's anything that somebody did right when they built this Constitution, they did it right, and they knew it would be for generations. Now, whether you agree or not agree with it, Let's don't change. It's like the Second Amendment. Why do we keep wanting to change the Second
Well,
Amendment?
because they didn't have assault rifles back then.
Well, they weren't
But
trying
see-
to make a
but
one
see-
world order and you
But they
have
had
to
musket
disarm all the
rifles.
Americans.
Rifles are rifles, you know. So the thing is they put that in there, and they knew. And I'm sure they didn't have a crystal ball, but they can say this is going to be a hot topic for many years. But you know, we have to hold our ground on the Constitution.
Well, you know, that's the thing. What was the Second Amendment to protect the country or to protect the people from the government?
Mm-hmm.
To protect people from the government. See, this is. See, I think now you're gonna have me. Yeah, I got my Republican hat on. Yeah.
I did want you to ask it sooner.
Yeah, and me being in the military, and I work for the government, yeah, I don't agree with it, you know, and the thing is, when they made it mandatory for all military people to have these codices, I had to say, what position, because I would have been, I'm a full bird colonel, what would have been my position, should I take it or not take it?
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a hard call.
and see, now that they've kicked all these people out for refusal, and now they're saying that our numbers in our armed forces are down. Oh, really? Oh, really? Come on. You know, they built these platforms and they say readiness, they want the soldier ready. Okay. Then all of a sudden they institute this COVID shot. And it's like, really? Okay, you're going to give a soldier a COVID shot and you don't know if it's going to make him sick, but you're going to put an M16 or put him in an aircraft carrying a nuclear weapon. And no, you know, flight surgeon will ground you until you're clear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Which
you're
is
not
what
going-
happened.
Yeah, so you know, yeah, you comply with the readiness, take the COVID shot, but I guarantee you will not be deployed until you're full up to speed. You know, remember, it's a team process. If you're sick and you're going into a firefight and you're not 100%, you're putting the other people at risk. So, yeah, it's the government they've crossed their lines too many times, and you know, so if we can get the right people in there, I mean, really the right people, and hopefully we can get some changes. And I'll say one big change is change that representative we have here.
Yes.
We have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, like I said, I'm a generation person.
They don't rig the machine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we got to worry about that too. So, yeah,
We can all keep visiting, but I see some people grabbing their purses. So if you gotta go ahead.
Yeah.
Let's move
Officially,
to a
Dr.
cooler
Byrd, thank
location.
you. We can move to the hallway.